Well, happy to say the Ranger Road fire now fully contained after burning nearly 300,000 acres in Oklahoma and Kansas. Rural communities now working to recover. Well, in today's Champions of Rural America, we want to get an update on the latest efforts to enhance wildfire prevention and mitigation across the western U.S. Congressman Jeff Hurd of Colorado joins us now for an update. Congressman, a pleasure. Thank you for your time today. So I understand not the amount of snow that was needed in the West, which means this could very well contribute to increased wildfires. Maybe you can speak to the methods of prevention and mitigation that you think will be most effective this year.
Well, first, Suzanne, it's great to see you. Thanks for letting me join you. Wildfire is not new to Colorado. What's new, though, is the scale and intensity of catastrophic fires. In our mix of arid landscapes and dense forests here in Colorado, in my district, western and southern Colorado, fire is part of the natural cycle. What we're seeing, though, with catastrophic fire is the result oftentimes of undermanagement. For example, historically, tribal communities practiced active forest stewardship, things like thinning, prescribed burns, fuel load reduction. But what's happened is decades of limited management more recently have resulted in forests that are overgrown, that are overstressed, that are vulnerable to beetles, vulnerable to disease, and they're filled with dead and dying timber that is fueling these severe fires. So what we need to be doing is looking at proactive forest management. That is the most effective fire prevention strategy: thinning forests, prescribed burns, targeted fuel reduction, looking at high-risk areas, prioritizing treatment before those fires get started. I will tell you there's a bill that we introduced and that we passed out of the House called the Fix Our Forest Act that allows the Forest Service to prioritize some of these high-risk areas, accelerate fuel reduction treatments, focus on prevention rather than disaster response. Snowpack alone, yes, you're right. I'm very concerned about our snowpack here in the West and in Colorado, but snowpack alone does not necessarily determine the fire season. A dry winter does not automatically mean the summer is going to be severe. A wet winter, oftentimes followed by a dry, hot summer, can create heavy fire fuel. So wildfire preparedness is not going to depend on the weather alone. We need to have active year-round stewardship that protects communities, that protects watersheds, that protects wildlife, habitat, and public lands. Wildfire in the West, Suzanne, is inevitable. Catastrophic wildfire is not.
Congressman, as you mentioned, the Fix Our Forest Act, a bipartisan bill. There are other bills that also address this, further developing wildfire mitigation efforts. Maybe you can talk as well about the Fire Weather Development Act and how that works.
Sure. Prevention is critical, and when fires start, information is everything. This bill that you mentioned is a bipartisan bill. It's sponsored with Congressman Jeff Crank, the other Jeff from Colorado. He's in the Colorado Springs area. This is a bill that strengthens wildfire forecasting and response through NOAA. And in this bill, we're focusing on three specific improvements: better fire weather and environmental forecasting. We're looking at earlier and more accurate wildfire detection. And then we're trying to improve decision-making tools during active fire. So this legislation would provide more precise information when the wind is shifting, when there's changes in humidity, when we see changes in fire behavior patterns. And it also strengthens coordination between federal agencies, state agencies, and local emergency managers. As we know, wildfire does not respect jurisdictional boundaries, and response tools should not be siloed. So what we're doing in this bill is we're creating better forecasting, faster responses, improved firefighter safety. We're going to be working to reduce loss of life, damage to homes, less economic disruptions. We cannot eliminate wildfire, Suzanne, but we can give firefighters better tools when minutes matter, and that's what this legislation is doing.
All right, Congressman, thank you so much. Of course, I know the efforts do continue, and as you mentioned, catastrophic is a word that we use when it comes to these wildfires. Again, thank you for your time, and thanks for all that you do. Congressman Jeff Hurd of Colorado.